I want to bring you now to that press conference we've been waiting for this afternoon regarding 4 people shot in Masontown.
Yeah, it's getting started right now, so let's listen in.
He's the station commander here, Troop B, Uniontown. And we also have from the German Township Police, Chief Ramada. They're going to talk to you briefly about the incident that took place today at the Masontown Borough Center, an incident that's becoming far too common today. It's getting out of hand. We're going to hopefully get a control of it, but they're going to talk about it. We are going to open up to questions a little bit afterwards. We'll give you about 5 minutes or so. Lieutenant Allen.
Good afternoon. I would like to thank all of you for coming today. As Trooper Barbwater indicated, I am Lieutenant Steve Dallin, the station commander of the Uniontown Station of the Pennsylvania State Police. I apologize for making you all wait. However, I wanted to ensure that the family and officers of the Masontown Police Department were cared for prior to my departure of the scene. This news conference is being held in order to provide some additional information regarding a police-involved shooting which occurred this afternoon. As you know, members of the Pennsylvania State Police are investigating a shooting that occurred in the lobby of the Masontown Municipal Building. One of the many offices within that building is the office of Magistrate District Judge Daniel Shimshock. Shortly after 2 p.m. this afternoon, a male entered the lobby and began shooting a handgun. As the gunman began shooting, officers from the 2 separate police departments, the Masontown Police Department and the German Township Police Department, rapidly entered the lobby in an attempt to save lives. One of those officers from the German Township Police Department encountered this armed gunman and fired multiple rounds from his service weapon. The gunman was fatally wounded. Prior to the gunman being fatally wounded, he shot 4 victims, including Sergeant R. Scott Miller of the Masontown Police Department. All 4 victims were transported to local hospitals for what appears to be non-life-threatening injuries. I want to make it clear, without the rapid response of these brave officers to this shooting, more individuals may have been shot. Our Troop B major case team, which is comprised of members of Troop B's Criminal Investigation Section, Patrol Section, Command staff, were activated to investigate this incident. As always, the Pennsylvania State Police is fully committed to conducting a thorough, unbiased investigation into this officer-involved shooting. Once the situation was stabilized, the District Attorney of Fayette County, Richard Bauer, was contacted. This was done to ensure complete transparency, as the District Attorney's Office has direct oversight over our entire investigative process. Mr. Bauer personally responded to the scene and has been fully integrated into our investigation. As you would suspect, we are in the infancy stages of this investigation. However, we can confirm that the district judge nor any of the members of his staff were a target of this gunman. Lastly, I would like to thank our brothers and sisters in law enforcement, as well as the Fayette County District Attorney's Office. Without the close partnership that we have with these agencies, our collective job in protecting and serving communities would be made much more difficult. In closing, I would ask for your thoughts and prayers for all 4 victims, including Sergeant Miller of the Masontown Police Department, and I would ask members of the public, the next time you see a police officer, to walk up to them and thank them for what they do, putting their lives on the line every day. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Lieutenant Dallin has told you, at approximately 2 o'clock today, there was a shooting at District Judge Daniel Shimshock's office in Masontown, Pennsylvania. At that time, the court was in session for preliminary hearings and other types of matters. At that time, there was approximately 30 to 40 cases scheduled for hearings today. One of the cases involved a male charged with strangulation, aggravated assault, terroristic threats, and simple assault. This was a result of a domestic matter incident which occurred a few weeks ago. At that time, the actor began to enter the lobby of the municipal building after he had arrived at the district judge's office. At that time, he walked in holding a handgun in one of his hands. At that time, the actor was engaged by Sergeant R. Scott Miller of the Masontown Police Department. Unfortunately, Sergeant Miller was shot by the actor and is presently in a local hospital. We have just had recent conversations with Chief Ryan of the Masontown Police, who is with him, and he has indicated that he is in good condition. At the time that he was shot, he took cover, and the actor then entered the building, shot 2 males and 1 female. In the hearing room at that time was District Judge Shimshock, an Assistant District Attorney, several defense attorneys, police officers, witnesses, and defendants for preliminary hearings, and staff of Judge Shimshock's office. As a result of the shootings, a German Township police officer made his way to the lobby. The German Township police officer shot the actor multiple times, with the actor being killed. As Lieutenant Dowland has indicated, we have 4 victims, 3 civilians, and Sergeant Miller. As Lieutenant Dowland has indicated, no one in regard to the judge, the Assistant District Attorney, the defense attorneys, and the staff of the judge were targeted in the shooting. Additionally, at that time, the Pennsylvania State Police had ordered a lockdown at a local school. That lockdown has been removed. In this case, as is so often the case, the German Township police officer ran toward the danger, not away. He protected over 30 to 40 people from injury or death. In addition, Chief Hermata, standing to my left, and Officer Abardo also ran into that danger to do their duty. And that duty is to protect the public with disregard to their own safety. Today, there were 4 heroes: Sergeant Miller, Chief Hermata, Officer Abardo, and the officer who engaged the actor and killed him. Ladies and gentlemen, I would also like to take the opportunity to thank the Pennsylvania State Police with the quick and rapid response that they had. Additionally, I'd like to thank the EMS people that responded very quickly without knowing whether they were in danger or not. And people need to understand, and the public needs to understand, that that's what these people do every day of their lives. These police officers and these emergency management people risk their lives every day going out. And today, they all were a shining light to our community. And it goes without saying, we must thank them for their heroic efforts in protecting all those people in that room. And fortunately for us, fortunately for them, there were several police officers in the courtroom at that time, and they all did their duties. Thank you very much.
We'll open up for some questions.
So the gunman, are you going to can you confirm his name at this press conference?
We will not confirm his name at this press conference.
The female that was shot, was that, was she a target? Was she this person who was appearing in front of the magistrate for a domestic case involving strangulation?
We are not going to confirm that either. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We're not going to confirm either of those questions
Can you
at the
tell us
time.
anything about the shooter? What can you tell us about?
Well, I can tell you that the shooter had a protection from abuse order against him in regard to the strangulation case.
And he was scheduled to appear in court for a prelim today.
Yes.
Why aren't you identifying him?
Well, we have to make sure that the next of kin have been notified.
Is he 61?
I don't know what his age is.
When Trooper Broadwater had said when he's right at the beginning that this happens all too often, Are you talking about, because we have covered several stories recently of violence against women committed by, men who have PFAs against them? Is that what you're talking about in this case?
Yeah.
What I'm talking about is regarding to the active shooters. That's way too common around here. This is the second one in Fayette County of mass shooting, one since January. So we had one in January, this one, and we also stopped a young individual from Uniontown High School back in February. So it's just becoming way too common, and we're going to try to get a hold of it.
Can you speak to, I know that fortunately this magistrate was in a municipal building where there was a police department, and so officers were present, and it was like court day. So there were folks there in law enforcement who were ready to respond. But, us as reporters, we go to so many magistrates, and just the way things are, it's not a courthouse, so there are not metal detectors, there are not armed security guards. Is this a concern?
Well, I can tell you point blank that I've talked with District Attorney Gene Batone this afternoon. He called me to talk about this, and we both have concerns that there are not enough protection in any place. Now, the one problem, though, is you're never going to stop everything. But the problem also, though, is that a person can walk into any of these courtrooms, the district judge courtrooms, and there is a lot of the time, at least when we are there for preliminary hearings, there are police officers. However, there are no police officers normally there when there are no hearings going on. So that is a concern for us. But I think across the board, there's a concern about the security in district judge offices, the courthouse, and not just our courthouse. Every courthouse you go to, yes, they have people there, but if someone wants to go in, that's the problem. In my opinion, and I think a lot of the other individuals with whom I deal, that the security is not always going to be sufficient no matter what, even if you have a lot of security.
Now, witnesses said that they saw a woman running, a man running after her across the street, shots were fired. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Was that before that the shooter went inside the building and continued firing shots? Could you kind of set the scene and tell us more about how that transpired?
As I indicated, we are in the infant stages of this investigation. I ask all of them, anybody with any knowledge, if they heard, saw, if there's any cell phone video, anything, I urge them come forward, contact the state police here at Uniontown at 724-439-7111.
Have you received a cell phone video?
Or
have you heard that issue?
no, I have not. But as you're more than aware, in our communities, most everybody has a cell phone, and a lot of times people are videotaping things. So if anybody has any information, the reality of things is we cannot do our job without our community. So we need people to come forward and provide us information. And if anybody is a witness or has any knowledge of this incident, we encourage you to step forward, contact us here at the barracks, or you can reach out to Fayette County Crime Stoppers as well. But again, there were several people within our community that stepped forward already. And our investigators have already interviewed those folks, and we appreciate those. Again, without the community involvement, we can't do our jobs as police officers on a daily basis.
The woman who had the PFA out on the shooter, was she inside the courtroom?
Again, I want to make sure that, we're doing a news conference very early on in this investigation, and we wanted to provide, our community with information about this heinous event, this tragic event that transpired in our community here today. Again, we encourage anybody that has information, please come forward and provide that information. But right now we're kind of limited as to what we can say, only because we want to make sure that we solicit all information from all the witnesses to make sure we're conducting a full investigation of this matter.
Does this gunman have
One second.
a similar background, a domestic background like this from prior incidences? Have you dealt with him before?
Again, we need to notify the next of kin of this individual right now. So, out of respect for the next of kin, I don't want to give any comments for any past criminal history that he may have been involved in. So, out of respect for the next of kin, I will defer to wait till we provide that information. But one more question.
Were any of the victims flown from the scene? Were any of the victims flown by helicopter from the scene?
No. So,
How far do you make it into the building? I know there's a hallway and a lobby. Did he make it into the lobby?
Yes.
yes.
Did he make it into the courtroom itself?
No.
No. No, the incident was right at the lobby of the municipal building. They did not make their way into the courtroom. Again, the reason that individual may not have been able to do that was because of, again, the actions of our brave officers that happened to be there and, again, ran towards the gunfire to save lives today. So that's all the questions we can take today.
You were one of the people that helped bring this gunman down and stop this whole scene. Could you talk to us about what it was like to be there and what you're feeling right now and what you're feeling for your fellow officers?
Obviously, there's a lot of mixed emotions when you're involved in something like that. Basically, I'm just glad that, you know, the officers are all okay. Everything turned out, you know, it's unfortunate that someone lost their life, but, you know, I'm proud of my officer. I think everybody did what they were trained to do.
Can you talk about what it must feel
Okay,
like? He said there were 30 to 40 other people that were saved because of this. That must feel good.
How did you know the judge wasn't the target? Were you trying to get?
Wait a minute, one question at a time. One question at a
As
time.
far as, we can't really speak on anything that's going to lead into the investigation or anything.
Can you tell us your name, so we have that on record?
Dave Hermata. I'm the chief of police of German Township.
Can you spell it for us, your last name?
H-R-O-M-A-D-A.
H-R-O?
M-A-D-A.
Could you say the name of the officer that was, I know it's Sergeant Miller, but I wasn't typing, I couldn't get it quick enough to get his first name.
R. Scott Miller.
R.
Scott Miller.
Sergeant
Yes.
R. Scott Miller
Yes.
of Masontown.
The
Yes.
Masontown Police Department.
Awesome.
And that'll conclude our news conference today.